Storytelling is an art, and like many forms of creative expression, video game storytelling can be especially unique. Narratives can unfold in linear fashion or non-sequentially, while making the player an active participant in events. And while some stories can be relatively straightforward, others are complex to the point of requiring multiple playthroughs. Let's take a look at 14 titles with some of the more complex stories out there. A quick note before we move forward. Please consider subscribing and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. And while you're at it, please click like if you enjoyed this video. It really helps us out. With that out of the way, let's begin. Alan Wake. Alan Wake travels to Bright Falls with his wife, who subsequently goes missing, but must also contend with the darkness within. Remedy's high-profile Xbox 360 title was touted as a visually accomplished action-adventure game before launch. However, the story went beyond a traditional format, playing out in episodic fashion, with dollops of Stephen King and David Lynch influencing the plot, and the writer's will influencing the overall medium. Killer 7. For as on-rails as Goichi Suda's shooter can be, its storytelling is anything but. The style and cinematic panache assail you from the get-go with just one simple objective: destroy the Heaven Smile headquarters. As the story unfolds, showcasing the multiple assassins of Harmon Smith, one learns of the true goal of Heaven Smile. Suda's ambition to create a new expression may not have had the smoothest gameplay, but its narrative and plot remain as intriguing as ever. UNDERTALE. What makes a monster? UNDERTALE sought to answer this question through consequences which bled into the game's actual makeup. After protagonist Frisk falls into the underground, they encounter an entire society of monsters living there. It's then one's choice to play like a traditional RPG and simply kill everything, or stop and think about their actions, seeking other ways to succeed. With dense lore and mysteries till this day, not to mention the well-written characters, it's easy to understand why UNDERTALE's fame endures. Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. If the first game is about the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, then Metal Gear Solid 2 is about the weaponization of digital information where one's entire identity can be constructed. Though lambasted by some fans at the time, mostly due to eschewing Solid Snake for Raiden as the protagonist, the narrative was heavily praised. The once-proclaimed philosophical mumbo-jumbo has become more relevant than ever, from the influence of memes on the socio-cultural makeup of society to the illusion of control.
Raiden.
Raiden? Strange code name.
Makes up for the boring one my parents gave me.
Maybe I'll find out someday.
Bloodborne. Eliminate the beasts as a hunter. That seems to be your mission in Bloodborne, hunter's dream and talking doll aside. The devil is in the lore though, especially when it comes to the Great Ones and their conflict, or how Yharnam coveted their blood before descending into madness. It offers a cosmic horror story of incredible depth, sorrow, mystery, and strange as it sounds, love. After all, the bottomless sea is accepting of all there is and can be. Silent Hill 2. Various metaphors and symbolism adorn Silent Hill 2's plot, while the player's actions can influence the direction in multiple ways. Protagonist James Sunderland is a complex web of unforgivable sins, which the town itself drags out as a means of punishment. How he could proceed, whether seeking redemption or ultimately repeating the cycle, is dependent on the player. The aesthetic, pacing, and characterization help in this harrowing interpretation of crime and punishment, while the psychological significance of its monsters still warrant analysis to this day. Deadly Premonition. Cult classic Deadly Premonition begins as a Twin Peaks knockoff, with the low production values aiding in the overall campiness. But brave through its various issues and you'll discover a deeper mystery behind the murders in Greenvale, along with the true identity of York and Zack. The characters, York especially, make this trip appealing, and not knowing what or who to believe accentuates the thrill even more. Death Stranding. Death Stranding is one of those games whose plot unfolds in a fairly straightforward fashion, but whose events are anything but. From the very get-go, you're inundated with details about BTs, porters, bridge babies, the chiral network, timefall, and the seam, with even more to learn about the actual gameplay. But along with the extensive lore that fleshes out the post-extinction world, the characters have their own detailed backstories and motivations that tie into the overall themes of isolation and connection.
What are you gonna do to her?
What I'm supposed to do? Keep the extinction entity safe until the slate is wiped clean. There's no stopping the sixth extinction. No matter what you, me, or anybody else does, humanity has a few 100,000 years left, tops. Why don't we just cut to the chase? Accept our fate.
Raging Loop. Who is Fusaishi Haruaki? At the start, he's an ordinary guy who just wanders about the countryside. Upon crashing his motorcycle in Yasumizu, he becomes embroiled in a centuries-long tradition to locate and hang the werewolves of Ukami-sama. Death isn't an escape either, as he finds himself entering Yasumizu each time, gaining the trust of and deceiving its villagers to discover the truth. Multi-layered, and with its own takes on myths and the supernatural, Raging Loop's mystery will keep you hooked till the very end. The Legend of Heroes: Trails of Cold Steel 4. Falcom's conclusion to the Erebonia arc encapsulates more than Cold Steel. It also continues the story of the special support section from Zero/Azure, while expanding on the mythos in Trails in the Sky. There's a lot to keep track of, from the various factions, historical events, characters, and countries, and at times, Trails of Cold Steel 4's scope threatens to exceed its grasp. Nevertheless, it's still a big endgame-style collaboration that provides a satisfying conclusion to a years-long story. Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm not even going to try and attempt to explain the overarching story of Kingdom Hearts. We've had Heartless, Nobodies, Unverse, and that's not even factoring in the Disney characters. Playing through the entire saga and attempting to piece together, much less follow everything, is truly an undertaking, and Kingdom Hearts 3 builds on this even further with its use of body doubles, alternate versions of characters, cameos, and payoffs to long-existing plot threads. Make no mistake though, it's an epic ride that will stun and confuse you in equal measure. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Defeat Ganon, the main quest objective says, after you've been briefed on the Calamity and Princess Zelda's whereabouts. There's an incredible amount of lore and stories to discover, but the real depth is in Breath of the Wild's place within the overarching timeline. Various clues point towards the nature of this setting's Ganon, how the world from 100 years before may connect to other titles, and much more. While producer Eiji Aonuma has hesitated to really confirm its placement, one answer is that this is the possible end of all timelines, with all series' various plots and developments coalescing together. Again, that's only one possible explanation, but who knows what other secrets the game's world could be hiding. The Stanley Parable. Stanley's job is simple: press the buttons in his dingy office, never questioning his lot in life. When his computer inexplicably goes blank, Stanley begins exploring the building while a narrator guides his actions. From here, the game's story can change based on the player's actions, turning into a metaphysical commentary, a mystery into the game's inner workings, or even a war against the narrator. Along with questioning video game narrative structure and how it normally should be, the Stanley Parable offers multiple routes and endings to deliver on the story that could be. Hades. Zagreus' attempt to escape the underworld sees him fighting through the Furies, Theseus, the Minotaur, and more, with the goal reuniting with his mother, Persephone. However, through numerous playthroughs, hundreds of unique conversations, and incredible characterization, it becomes clear that Persephone's departure isn't that simple. All of it unfolds within the confines of the roguelike structure, with each action, defeat, and victory furthering the story in various interesting ways. And that brings us to the end of the video. A quick request before we conclude. We upload new videos every single day, and if you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing. It really helps us out. Also, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon so that you can receive daily video updates. Thanks for watching.